You know, if you watched my channel in the past, you will know beyond any doubt that if there's something going on in the world, you can bet it was the Jesuits. Because it's always the Jesuits. And today we're looking once again at Vision Unsealed, one of the more insane Protestant channels out there. And he's going to show us how the Jesuits are behind everything. Now, fair warning, his videos have caused confusion on this channel in the past because of his style. He puts lots of different videos together into his video. So anytime you see the Vision Unsealed logo in the corner, you know it's from his video directly. All right, we're off to a banging start. Did you know that when the Pope puts his hand in his jacket, he's making a Masonic sign? I guess I myself have been a lifelong Mason and just had no idea. Because there's a pocket right there in most suit jackets, and that's where I would keep my cell phone.
Who are the Jesuits? The Jesuit oath will show you exactly who they are.
Oh, yep, definitely. This is going to be real, not something invented by Protestants.
I now, in the presence of the Almighty God, the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Blessed Michael the Archangel, the Blessed Saint...
Well, this goes on for a bit, so I'm just gonna speed it up.
John the Baptist, and my ghostly father, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, founded by St. Ignatius Loyola, do by the womb of the Virgin swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ's Vice-Regent, and is the true and only head of the Catholic or Universal Church. I do now renounce and disown any allegiances due to any heretical king, prince, or state, named Protestant or Liberal, or obedience to any of their laws or magistrates or officers. I do further declare the doctrine of the Church of England and Scotland and of Calvinists, Huguenots, and others of the name of Protestant or Liberal to be damnable, and themselves to be damned, who will not forsake the same. I do further promise and declare that, notwithstanding I am dispensed with, to assume my religion heretical for the propagation of Mother Church's interest, to keep secret and private all her agents, counsels, from time to time as they interest me, and not divulge directly or indirectly by word, writing, or circumstances whatever. I do furthermore promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents, make and wage relentless war secretly or openly against all heretics, Protestants, and Liberals, as I am directed to, extirpate them from the face of the earth, and that I will spare neither age, sex, or condition, and that I will hang, burn, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive those infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of the women, and crush their infants' heads against the walls in order to annihilate their inexorable race. That, when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poisonous cup, the strangulating cords, the steels of the poignard, or the leaden bullets, regardless of the honor, rank, dignity, or authority of the persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed to by any agent of the Pope, or the Superior of the Holy Father of the Society of Jesus. In confirmation of which I hereby dedicate my life, my soul, and my corporeal powers, and with this dagger which I now receive, I will subscribe my name written in my blood in testimony thereof, and should I prove false or weaken in my determination, may my brethren and fellow soldiers of the militia of the Pope cut off my hands and my feet, and my throat from ear to ear, rip my belly open, and sulphur burn therein, and all the punishments that can be inflicted on me on earth, and my soul be tortured by demons in an eternal hell forever. In testimony thereof, I take this most holy and blessed sacrament of the Eucharist, and witness the same further with my name written with the point of this dagger, dipped in my own blood, and sealed in the face of the Holy Covenant.
Wow, that was some oath. And no doubt, totally legitimate. I guess I'm not a Catholic anymore, guys. I guess now I have to change my channel to The Reformed Pub. I'm just kidding, what an awful name. The Reformed Pub.
In case you need more clarification on the validity of the source, this information comes from the National Library of Australia, nla.gov.au. We are merely sharing with you publicly available information.
At the risk of sounding like a real meanie Jesuit, I can't tell if this guy is stupid, ignorant, or intentionally deceiving. The National Library of Australia is not the source of the information. That would be like saying your local library is the source for the God delusion. It is not. Here we have this book that is very difficult to find online, and it's reproduced by a very anti-Catholic Protestant propaganda organization. But this document itself actually traces itself much further back in time, back to 1689, by a man named Robert Ware. And Robert Ware has been exposed by historians as a notorious forger.
On the surface, Jesuits are thought to be a community of Catholic clergymen who aspire to glorify God and seek the good of all humanity.
Within the priesthood in Roman Catholicism, there's a special group of priests called Jesuits. The new pope, for the first time ever in history, is from the Jesuits. The Jesuit Society is simply the Society of Jesus, nicknamed Jesuits. That's their name, their official name, the Society of Jesus.
Whoa, that's deep, bro.
On the surface, are engaged in education. They have about 190 universities and schools in the United States. There are about 24,800 of these Jesuits. They're not parish priests. They're a special order of priests who give themselves on the surface to education and to care for the poor.
Education? Care for the poor? No! No!
In the long war on the truth, the most formidable and relentless and deceptive enemy has always been Roman Catholicism. There's no deception with Islam, there's no deception with Hinduism, there's no deception with Buddhism. There is massive deception with Roman Catholicism.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
Literally every word he said there is outright false.
And its deception lies in the fact that it's an apostate, corrupted, heretical, false kind of Christianity. It is the kingdom of Satan wearing a Christian mask.
It's weird. The ancient church from the time of Christ that declares that Jesus is Lord is actually belonging to Satan and counterfeit and wears a mask of Christianity? I wish there was a Bible verse about that. I hate it when I can't think of these things.
The true church of the Lord Jesus has always understood this. It's always understood it since Catholicism began to form itself in the 4th century, all the way to the Reformation, even through what was known as the Dark Ages, say from 400 to 1500, leading up to the Reformation.
Wow, John MacArthur sounds a lot like a Dan Brown novel. And he's a real serious historian.
It was always rejected by the true church. And the Roman system was always going after Huguenots and Waldensians and Anabaptists. Those were those who took issue with the system in favor of the truth.
Ah, yes, all those ancient groups that didn't spring up until 12 to 1500 years after the church was established. And all those people who took issue with the teaching of Christ's church because they asked themselves, did God really say?
Many of you are familiar with the Big Bang theory. One might think that a secular atheist devised the theory as an alternative explanation for how life began to exist on Earth.
Why would anyone think that? The Big Bang theory is wonderful evidence for the existence of the beginning of a universe, which implies a divine being. In fact, Stephen Hawking very much disliked the Big Bang theory because of the implications that it had about the existence of God. And finally, the Big Bang theory has absolutely nothing to do with abiogenesis.
If you thought so, you're in for a rude awakening.
But one Jesuit scientist has a far more vast influence on modern science than people can imagine. And one of the most respected astrophysicists in North America, Neil deGrasse Tyson, informs us where he gets his inspiration from.
We had a Big Bang. Big Bang put everything into motion. I'm good with that. We're good. The person who did that was a Belgian priest, Georges Lemaitre. He's a priest, physicist priest. Right. Okay? What a cool thing to have on your business card. You got people coming and going with that. But he calculated what the implications of Einstein's general relativity, which was the new theory of gravity, would be with Hubble's expanding universe. And he says the whole universe may have begun in a singular point in the past.
It's no secret that Neil deGrasse Tyson is an ardent atheist. He seems to hate religion. If you've seen any of his Cosmos episodes, either the first season or the second season, he clearly has a very low opinion of religion at best, and outright aggression at worst. That said, here he recognizes that a Catholic priest can come up with this idea, someone who believes in God, and he can have the same idea. They're not in conflict because it doesn't suggest anything about the supernatural on its own. It says the universe began in a single place in time. And that ever since it began, it has been expanding. The implications for God is that the universe could not have been infinitely old. And therefore the universe had to begin to exist, and there had to be a first cause of the universe. Now, I'm not going to get into defending that argument here. This is not the time or place. But the point is, the Big Bang Theory is not our enemy. Whether you believe in an ancient Earth, or you're a young Earth creationist, you can still apply the Big Bang Theory.
According to the Catholic press, the Big Bang Theory was first described, but not so named, by the French Jesuit Georges Lemaitre in the late 1920s. Georges Lemaitre is a Jesuit whose theory he first proposed in 1931 that was actually called at the time the primeval atom hypothesis. And it is amazing that a Roman Catholic Jesuit priest can make many all over the world believe that an explosion just appeared from nowhere and formed the universe and the planet we now inhabit.
Okay, I realize I'm in danger of beating a dead horse here, but for real, before you criticize something or attribute things to someone, you really need to see what they said and what they believed. Because nowhere in no way did he suggest that this Big Bang came out of nowhere and out of nothing. He still attributes the cause as being God. It's the atheist who has to attribute it to nothing. But again, the theory doesn't say anything about what caused the expansion of the universe, simply that the universe is expanding from a single place in time.
Do you now know who to thank for the ungodly and unscientific Big Bang Theory?
Based on this video, let alone all the other videos he's put out, this guy is in no way qualified to say that anything is ungodly or unscientific.
Do you still think the Jesuits are about glorifying God and promoting the gospel of Jesus Christ?
Well, I'm not going to question their intentions.
That explains why this Franciscan priest, Richard Rohr, would utter such blasphemy that the Big Bang was the birth of cosmic Christ 14.5 billion years ago.
Well, I certainly agree that Richard Rohr is heterodox in his teaching. He does not represent the Catholic Church, and he's also not a Jesuit, so it seems kind of random to throw him in here on a video about Jesuits.
Many Americans are unaware of how powerful and influential the Jesuits are in the United States.
On the official app of the White House, Jesuit priest Charles Curry says that Jesuit-educated students are in strategic areas of influence all over the world.
Well, that sounds like a great thing. We want Catholic priests and members of the Catholic Church to have important positions in society.
What did U.S. founding fathers think of the Jesuits? In May 1816, John Adams wrote to President Jefferson concerning the Jesuits. "I do not like the reappearance of the Jesuits. Shall we not have regular swarms of them here, in as many disguises as only a king of the gypsies can assume, dressed as printers, publishers, writers, and schoolmasters? If ever there was a body of men who merited damnation on earth and in hell, it is this society of Loyolas."
Ah, yes, the word of the Unitarian deist who rejected the miracles in the Bible and the divinity of Jesus. Definitely someone I'm going to trust when it comes to spiritual things.
Most Americans don't know or care about what the Founding Fathers knew about the Jesuits.
You know, it's interesting. Most of the Founding Fathers were Masons. And Masons hated Catholics. And Catholics hated Masons. Which adds to the irony to the fact that they keep accusing the Pope of being a Mason. So which is it? Do we like the Masons or do we not like the Masons?
What about Abraham Lincoln? What did he say about the Jesuits? This war, referring to the American Civil War, would never have been possible without the sinister influence of the Jesuits. We owe it to popery that we now see our land reddened with the blood of her noblest sons. The Protestants of both the North and the South would surely unite to exterminate the priests and the Jesuits, if they could learn how the priests and nuns who daily land on our shores under the pretext of preaching their religion, instructing the children in their schools, taking care of the sick in the hospitals, are nothing else but the emissaries of the Pope. To undermine our institutions, alienate the hearts of our people from our Constitution and our laws, destroy our schools, and prepare a reign of anarchy here as they have done in Ireland, in Mexico, in Spain, and wherever there are any people who want to be free.
Ah, yes, Charles Chinnicky, the excommunicated former Catholic priest who was quite salty and became a Presbyterian minister, devoting his whole life to preaching against the Catholic Church. He had lots of private conversations with Abraham Lincoln, according to his book, and this was one of the things he claimed Lincoln had said. There is absolutely no historical evidence that this was Lincoln's opinion. And even if it was, he would still be completely wrong. But it seems like this channel does not care about the truth. It only cares about its agenda.
Like John Adams rightly pointed out, the Jesuits are everywhere and have taken over the United States government, media, and schools.
If this is true, why is there no Catholic military? Why is there no real Catholic government in a temporal sense? Why is the only Catholic country the Vatican itself, which is the world's smallest country and has the lowest GDP of any country? And if this is all so secret, how come he knows all about this? That is some bad secret keeping.
The Jesuits are so vile that even Helena Blavatsky, a witch and Satanist, could not stand them.
What? A witch and Satanist hated the Jesuits? Wow. It's almost like that's exactly what you would expect from a witch and a Satanist.
Madame Helena Petrovna Blavatsky was a 19th century Russian occultist who founded the Theosophical Society and was one of the chief pioneers of the New Age movement. But even in her Luciferian glorifying blasphemous statements, she found the Jesuits the most repulsive and dangerous men on earth. And in her book Isis Unveiled Volume 2, she says that the Jesuits have done more moral harm in this world than all the fiendish armies of the mythical Satan.
She sounds like every single other anti-Christian out there, including all those atheists who say that teaching your children about God is child abuse. She's no different. Is this really who you want to use as your source?
Every one of the statements which follows in quotation marks are extracted from authenticated manuscripts or folios printed by this distinguished body.
Saying it certainly doesn't make it so.
She quotes from a 17th century Spanish Jesuit priest, Anthony Escobar Mendoza. Anthony Escobar says, "It is lawful to make use of the science acquired through the assistance of the devil, provided the preservation and use of that knowledge do not depend upon the devil. For the knowledge is good in itself, and the sin by which it was acquired has gone by."
They quote this from the book Isis Unveiled instead of going to the original source she claims to be getting it from, which is the Theologia Moralis. I do not read Latin, so I have no way of actually verifying that's what's in the book. But even if he did write those things, and that was an accurate translation of what he had written, he was actually condemned, or at least some of his writings were condemned, by the church. And he believed that the ends justified the means, which is very much not what the church believes. So one theologian, even a theologian who we can quote and use, isn't going to be right on everything, because, after all, he's only human. Lastly, this does not seem like the sort of thing that a Satanist would really be concerned about.
When an occultist and a Satanist abhor the Jesuits, you know this nefarious order must be really, really evil.
Or, more likely, really, really good and really, really holy. I bet she abhorred the Bible, too. Can you imagine what they would say if she had praised the Catholic Church?
For centuries, the Jesuits fought relentlessly to weaken Protestants and were mostly successful.
Tempted as I am to go into all the Protestant atrocities that you could list, but that would take away from the point that the Church has a responsibility to stop the spread of heresy, including Protestantism. And although the magisterium will recognize the sincerity of Protestant belief and that they are to an extent Christian brothers and that they believe the Trinity and are baptized, they still call everyone to come into the fullness of Christ's church.
Some of our Catholic friends may find this video upsetting. However, we owe the truth to everyone.
He's not your friend, guy. I'm not your guy, buddy.
We want Catholics to see that Catholicism is a false religious system that does not serve or worship God.
Oh, yeah. The church that sings glory to God every single Sunday, they're definitely not the ones who worship God. Well, if you're sick of all this Protestant slander, then please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to leave a comment down below. You're going to help get the word out that we are the church founded by Christ. As always, I thank you, patrons, for your support. If you want to become a patron, just click the link below, and in a few months, I'll send you some cool merch. Everyone else, thanks for watching. You make this possible. Until next time, and remember, go to Mass.